Venerable and guests for tonight's Dharma talk. Let's all take a bow.
Good evening. I'm very glad I'm here again. So last year is my first time speaking in Singapore, and this time is my second. This year is my second time. Okay, so I'm very glad that I have this opportunity to share Venerable Master's wisdom and some information about Humanistic Buddhism with everyone. Okay. And so let me introduce my name first, okay, or myself. Okay. So for those who don't know me, okay. So I'm Venerable Jue Huang. Okay. Jue Huang means the king of the enlightenment. So actually, it is a title, okay, a Chinese title that we address to the Buddha. Okay, so this is and so sometimes if you have seen my name, Jue Huang, on the repentance book, then Jue Huang actually is the name that we address to Buddha. Okay, so when you're seeing that, okay, don't think about me, but think about the Buddha. Okay, and I'm very honored that I can name after the Buddha. Okay. And so I'm serving right now in St. Louis, America. Okay, so it's St. Louis is a very rural place, okay, but it has its glory in the American history. Okay. So when we are talking about St. Louis, okay, you know there is an arch, okay, and it is a starting point of exploration of the West. Okay, so it is very important. Okay, anyway, I have served in St. Louis for 3 years right now, and I have served in America for 15 years now. Okay, so this is about me. Okay, so and today we are going to talk about. It is a series. The talk is a series. So I'm going to talk about influences and decline of Buddhism in China, part 3. Okay, or we call it Buddhism in China. Or no, it's okay. It is just that the mic is very sensitive. Okay, so and what I'm going to talk, okay, is according to the book of Venerable Master Xing Yun. It's called Humanistic Buddhism, holding true to the original intent of Buddha. Right? So if you have the book, I think this is a free distribution copy, right? So both in Chinese and English. So if you are interested on reading it further, so you may request it, I think, in the information center. So both in Chinese and in English. What am I going to talk is, this talk will be a very informative talk. So it is about history of Buddhism in China. And so today's talk will be in chapter 4 on the book. It's the development of Buddhism in China. And I'm going to talk about language and the cause of decline of Buddhism in China. So it covers from page 196 to 249. So you can, if you have the book, you can flick over. That is the page number, and I'm not sure if you share the same page, because my copy, my version, my edition is the 3rd edition. I'm not sure if you share the same edition. Okay, but mine is the 3rd edition of the book. Okay, so it's 196, and so language and culture is 196 to 229. And the cause of decline of Buddhism in China is 230 to 249. And after this talk, it is the end of the chapter, and our next talk will be the new chapter. Okay. Phew. Okay. So now we're going to talk about language. Okay. So when we are talking about language, we should talk about the culture too. Okay. So we cannot just separate language with the culture. Okay. So language is, as this PowerPoint stated, okay, language is a medium for expressing and embodying other phenomena. It expresses the value, beliefs, and meanings which members of a given society share by virtue of their socialization into it. Right? So in plain English, it means that the language, right, when we are talking about or learning a language, okay, actually we're learning its culture too. Okay? So there's no way for us to separate both of them. Okay, so take my experience for example. Okay, so when I was in America, okay, and I was serving 12 years in LA, so I was very used to the Western accent in America. Okay, so there are different accents in American English. Okay. So when I got transferred to the Midwest, St. Louis, okay, and the way they talk is they hold their words in their mouth. Okay. So I was just like, what? Okay. So I barely understand what they said. Okay. So that is the reason why I started to take ESL class. Okay, I really took ESL class, and I'm going to sign up. Okay, after I go back, after this tour. Okay. And so I found out that when I'm learning English in my ESL class, okay, I'm also learning American history and American culture. Okay. So for example, okay, when I was learning about the holiday seasons in America, so there are July 4th, there are New Year, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? And Labor Day, Columbus Day, something like that, right? And so I'm learning cultures, and guess what? Right? The biggest holiday that for American, do you know what is the biggest holiday for America? Yeah, Thanksgiving. Right? So Thanksgiving, they share a tradition, right, of eating turkey, right? Okay, and there is something very interesting that not just only turkey, but it has a very, very special food or dish, right, called cranberry sauce. You know cranberry sauce? Okay, have you ever tasted? Oh, okay. It's very sour, right? Okay. And so after I learned that, on the same year, I hosted a Thanksgiving celebration. And that at that time, I have a chance to taste cranberry sauce. Right? Just for staying in America for almost like 12 years or so, then I have I really have a chance to take their traditional food, okay, and cranberry sauce, and then I say, oh, okay, interesting. So and I learned why they think Thanksgiving is a very important holiday for them. Okay? So it is not because of the Black Friday. You know Black Friday, right? It's a shopping day, okay, for America. Okay? So, but it is not because of the Black Friday, but it is because of their tradition, their history of immigration. Okay? So when first the migrate, their first end of the year, the first year that they have that they spend in the new land, and they celebrated that they are still in one piece. Okay, so Thanksgiving. Okay, so when we are talking about a language, we always has to know the culture. So that is, you cannot divide it, right? These two. Okay. So when we are talking, actually we are expressing what we are thinking, right? And what we are thinking are based or molded by the cultural background or the educational background that we had. Okay, so let's take an example. Okay, so we know that in Southeast Asia, right, including Malaysian Chinese and Singaporean Chinese, when we are talking in Chinese, of course this is a Malaysian Chinese, okay, but I think due to my research, I think Singaporean Chinese are very similar to Malaysian Chinese. Okay, so the language that we speak, okay, it actually is a fusion of Chinese dialect, which includes Hakka, Hokkien, Cantonese, and Chitra, right? And also Malay and English. Okay, so I know that, kopi o, right? Okay, right. Kopi o is coffee and black, right? Black coffee, yeah. Kopi o, okay. That's English, okay. And so this is my example. I think that you know that, okay. 我被打喊你啦. Okay. And I thought that Bedahan is a Malay word, but my co-worker, which is also a Malaysian monastic, she's Ru Gong Fa Shi, and she is my advisor of this one. Okay, he's my consultant. Okay. And so when I consult him that what Bedahan means, okay, and she said that Be is actually boy in Hokkien. Okay, so I cannot, right? I cannot. So Be is Hokkien. Okay, so it's a Chinese dialect. Dahan is Malay, right? Okay, so 我被打喊你啦. Okay, actually is a fusion of Chinese dialects, including Hokkien and Mandarin Chinese, and also Malay. Okay, another example, I think this is not from me, but it's from the internet. Okay, so sometimes it is not a quite appropriate language over there, okay, but my consultant, Ru Gong Fa Shi, said that you better not to revise it, okay, or modify it, because this is how people say. Okay, so I didn't make any modification. So let's say 刚刚从北南回来，那里的 traffic 西北。I know this is not very good. Okay, 够辣，是不是够辣哈？刚跟你塞2个多小时那一种啊，现在讲真的我很仙呢。Okay, right? Okay. So this is how our Singaporean Chinese or Malaysian Chinese speak. Okay, and so we know that Penang is a place in Malaysia. Okay, traffic is English. Nice. That one, I would like not to mention that twice. Okay, but it is it's Hokkien, but it's from Tuanju or Tiongju. Okay. So I think that is just a slang, right? It's a slang. Okay, 够辣. It's Hokkien, right? Okay, right. And Sen is also a Hokkien. Okay, so in this conversation we already see English, Malay, Hokkien, or Tuanju, maybe Mandarin Chinese, and so actually it shows a kind of like a fusion of Chinese, Malay, and English culture. Okay. So actually, when I hear you talk, it is very interesting to me. Okay, and so I'm kind of like catching some of the words. Okay, that is really sometimes it is foreign to me, okay, or sometimes it is very familiar to me. Okay, and I know that this is how the Malaysian or Singaporean Chinese say how they speak. Okay, so this is it forms a unique culture here. Okay, so that never found in anywhere else. Okay, so when I traveling in America, sometimes when I hear some similar way of saying, then I will just ask, oh, are you from Singapore or are you from Malaysia? Okay, and they say, oh, how do you know? Okay, yeah, so this is how it forms a culture already. Okay, and another one, okay, sometimes some cultures shares the same languages with each other. We know that Malay and Indonesian very similar, right? Okay, so maybe they have very similar culture there too. Okay, so I have cited two words, okay, that some of the cultures shares some of the language we have. Right. So I think this is really very interesting. Like teacher. We're talking teacher, okay. So Malay and Indonesia and Hindi or Sanskrit, okay, share the same word called guru. Okay. So when we are looking or reading the Buddhist text in English or in Sanskrit, we usually hear guru too. Okay. So no surprise that is Sanskrit, okay, but also share in Malay language. Okay. And interestingly, Filipinos say address teacher as guru. And I have a experience staying in the Philippines for 9 years, and so I know that guru, they address teacher as guru, so very similar to guru. Okay, so I think they have, influence of maybe Buddhist or Hindu culture, among Southeast Asia country. Okay, and also soap, a very commonly seen commodity, daily commodities. Okay. In Malay, Indonesia, or in Arabic, it's called sabun. Okay. Even Arabic people say sabun. Ooh, so now we can talk with our Arabic friends. They say, "Do you have sabun?" So we will never have dirty hands now. Okay. And in Filipino, it's called sabon. Very similar. Okay, in French, savon. I have to, use a very romantic ways to say savon. Okay. French. Okay, so it's very similar. Okay. Okay. And in Hindi, Hokkien, sabun, right? Of course, I know that Cantonese is fangan. It's very different. Okay, but in Hokkien, sabun. Okay, so it is very similar. Okay, so sabun, zavon, French, sabun. Okay, so maybe we can have a, kind of like, there's a book, right? Sometimes there's a book written by some author, I forgot. He writes, his book is about the coffee. Okay, how does the coffee, the trade of the coffee, right? Okay. Maybe we can talk about, and we can write a book about the trade of the soap. Okay, yeah, through, due to the same language that we share. Right. So sometimes we know that the cultures also influence each other. Right. So take the example of the teacher. Take this example of the daily commodities, soap. Okay. They really interact with each other. Okay. So let's try to talk about the Chinese language that and also the Buddhist thoughts or Buddhism. Okay, so actually Chinese language really has a great or the Buddhist or Buddhism has a really great influence to the Chinese language. Okay, and it is in the way of by the way of translation, spread of Buddhist texts, and also by some of the great master, or building up the eight Chinese Buddhism schools, okay, and this language, this Buddhist language, are being included into Chinese conversational words. Okay, so this is quite interesting. So let's take a look at it. Okay. So when at the first time when the Buddhism spread into China, okay, of course, everyone wants to know what is Buddhism, right? Okay, so there are people translating Buddhist scriptures, right? So to let the Chinese know what Buddhism talks or what is Buddhism about, right? And so the Chinese spent about 900 years translating Buddhist scriptures. Right? 900 years, imagine that. Right? From the time of Han Dynasty until the time of Tang Dynasty. So almost 900 years. So like from 100 to 980. Okay, and so a lot of Buddhist monks or monastics put a lot of efforts on translation at the first 900 years of in Chinese Buddhism history. Okay, and the pictures that you can see at the right, that is Xuanzang. It is a very famous monk. 玄奘大师. If you know Chinese famous literature, 西游记, you know that 玄奘大师, okay. But this 玄奘大师 in 西游记 is different from the real 玄奘大师, okay. Okay, so he didn't there is no monkey or pig okay, accompany with him to go to India, okay. So he spent a lot of time crossing the broad border and crossing the desert and the high mountain of Himalayas and reached India. And he studied there, and he became famous too in India. And then after that, he brought back about 1,000 scrolls of Buddhist scriptures and back to China. And when he get back to China, and he started to translate the scriptures. Okay, and so he started a lot of times. Right? And so for 900 years, translating scriptures. Okay? So you can imagine the manpower that the monastic or the Buddhists put in translations. Right? So translation actually becomes or became institutionalized. Okay, so it is a systematic work. Okay, it is not just a one-man show. Okay, it is never a one-man show. Okay, so there are a group of people trying to translate a text. Okay, so here is some job duties in a translation institute. Okay, and so when I talk about this is about the time when Kumarajiva and also Xuanzang Dashi has. Okay, so they have this institute. Okay, so there is some duties. Okay, so here are some duties. Okay, so there is a chair of translation, and this chair always are the initiator, okay, of translating a certain scripture. Okay, so he initiated to translate a certain scripture, and so he has to be knowledgeable on the school of that scripture, very knowledgeable, and also he has to be very knowledgeable on both Sanskrit and Chinese language. Okay, so this is the chair, the duty of the chair. Okay, so he's always a very high positions there, right? And then besides that, there is 2 co-chairs. Okay, so when they're translating, okay, so the chairs are there is a Buddhist text. For example, there's a Buddhist text, like the original Buddhist text. Okay, so you can see there, it's this is the original Buddhist text, different from what we have right now, and this is a Chinese scroll, right? Okay, Chinese style of the Buddhist text. Okay, so this must be the chair. Okay, so this is the chair. So he started to recite what is in the scripture, and the co-chair, these 2 co-chair has to listen to the chair, listen to double check of his pronunciation of the Sanskrit, see if it is correct, the pronunciation is correct, make sure that it's not, that is not different. Right? And also, another co-chair has to listen to the meaning. So these 2 co-chairs has to have a very good knowledge of Sanskrit to double check that the chair, when the chair recite the scriptures, are correct, both in pronunciation and the meaning. Okay, so it is just like when I'm reading English, English essays, and there will be someone listening to me, and then correct my pronunciation or correct the meaning of the scriptures. Okay, so this is what these 2 co-chairs do. Okay, and then after that, there are a group of people who is doing transliteration. So what does that mean? So when the co-chairs speaking the Sanskrit, reading the scriptures, and so there are a group of people listening to the Sanskrit terms, and he has to write the Chinese, like Chinese word according to the sound of the Sanskrit. So that's mean transliterate. Right? So that means that they have to write the Chinese according to the sound of the Sanskrit. Right? So just like 大悲咒, right? Okay, so that is transliterate. Okay, so they try to kind of write it like like that. Okay, so they're trying to transliterate it. And then after that, they're going to have another group of people who are translating these words, the Sanskrit words that is already being transliterated by the previous people. Okay, so they are translating it. Okay, so those translator is just translating word by word. Okay, so have you ever used Google Translator? Okay, right? Okay, so actually Google Translator is not very good, right? You know that it is not grammatically correct, right? Okay, so the translator, how they do it is just like Google Translate. Okay, so they translate word by word, okay, without any grammatically knowledge. So they just translate it, okay, according to the location of of that words, okay. And then there will be another group of people. They are editing those words. It's already being translated into Chinese, right? Okay, so they are using it. They are kind of like grammar check. Okay? They are try to make the word make it sense, right? Make it sensible to the Chinese reader. Okay, so it's called grammatically editor. Okay. And after that, this is not yet done. Okay. After that, there will be a group of people who are very artistic and very poetic, okay, trying to make the scripture more poetic or more artistic. Right? You're just like reading it as you're reading a classic, classic work. Okay, so that is a literary modifier. And the final step of this translation institute is the chanter. Okay, so not just writing it, translating it, grammar check, or modified it into a more literally beautiful format, right? But they have to chant. They have to chant the scripture, right? And see if it is good to the year for the Chinese. Okay? It is very, very important. So sometimes when you go to the service, and you think, oh wow, the chanting is so beautiful, and you know how hard they put the effort on translating, because they have chanted, they are chanting each scriptures, translated scriptures, to see if it is good to the year. Okay, so that is some job duties that we have never thought of, right? Okay, so including chanting. Okay, right, so when we're translating something, have you ever have an experience of translating, even verbal or literal? Okay, do you read it out loud to see that, oh, this is more to the good to the year? No, right? Okay, but they think of that for us. Okay, so this is a very tough job. Okay, and a very systematic and very sophisticated job. Okay, so that's why we have a lot of scriptures or sutras that is very beautiful. Okay, so treasure that, because it is a group effort. And it's not just one man show. Okay, it's not just like, oh, who's Kumara Chifa, okay, who translated it, okay, but there are a group of people at his back, okay, doing the other job. Okay. So Kumara Jiva or Xuanzhang Dashi is only the initiator. He is the chair, right? But there are a lot of people who is supporting him. Okay. So this is also Yin Yuan, right? Okay. Okay, so this shows how hard it is. Okay, so after translation, okay, so we have to circulate it, right? Okay, so you when translating, when you're writing something, you want everyone knows it, right? So that's how Twitters and Facebook are very fun right now, right? Okay, very common right now. So you want everyone knows what I'm doing. Okay. So the spread of Buddhist text. Okay. So before Song Dynasty, okay, and it's about 971 AD. Okay. Buddhist sutra or Buddhist scriptures always brought to China and being translated into Chinese. And after that, people transcribe it, right, using pens and ink, or brush and ink, to transcribe it and circulate it. Okay, and so, but this one is pretty slow. Okay, so you have experience of transcribing the sutra, right? 抄经, right? Okay. You know how long does it take, right? Okay, so when and there are some rules too when transcribing it. Okay. First of all, you cannot use 行书, like okay, okay. You cannot, like you have to translate. You have to write it very, correctly. Okay. The lines should be very straight. There shouldn't be some mistakes, or there shouldn't be some lost words. Right? Sometimes you will just, you got lost, right? Okay. So there are some rules too. Okay. So transcribing the sutra is another hard job. Okay. So this is how the spread of Buddhist texts before Song Dynasty. Okay. After Song Dynasty, after 971 AD, there comes technology called block printing technology, 印刷术, okay, block printing technology, and it advanced, it really advanced, okay, the circulation of the speed of circulation. Okay, so when the block printing technology was being invented and being used by printing the Buddhist texts, and then in Song Dynasty, and then it comes up to a different kind of circulation of the Buddhist text. So let's take a look at it. So this is how it spread after Song Dynasty, how the Buddhist text spread after Song Dynasty. Okay. So the reason why I put 971 AD is because this is the first Buddhist canon being printed by the block printing technology, using block printing technology. Okay, and it comes up the first Buddhist canon called 开宝藏. Okay, and it takes 10 years for this canon or scriptures, okay, to really popular circulating. Okay, so it takes 10 years to carve the blocks and printing and circulating. Okay. So after the printing technology being popular, then the format of spreading of the Buddhist texts are different. Right? So it becomes like this, right? Collecting Buddhist scriptures, okay? Because there are a lot of Buddhist sutras or scriptures being translated already. So after Song Dynasty, it is their job to collect it, right, from different locations, right? Because there are different translation institute, okay, that translating different scriptures. So they have to collect all the scriptures into one place and start to compile it and started to edit it. Okay, and so it became Buddhist canon. So we speak, so to speak, Buddhist canon, 大藏经, Buddhist canon. And then after that, after editing it, then it is being printed by the block printing technology. Okay, so this is after Shan Dynasty. Okay, and then so the Buddhist texts are being, or Buddhist language are being translated and being circulated by people, those group of people. And here comes another group of people that is creating or expounding the theory of Buddhism in China. So there are 8 schools in Chinese Buddhism. So these are the 8 schools. So these 8 schools are actually their foundation are pretty the same. So I call core teachings of Buddhism. So so those schools are based on the same core teachings. So they share the same value of causality, causes and effects, our emptiness, and also like Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path, our 3 Dharma seals. That is the common core teachings that every 8 school shares. Okay, and then but they take some of the teachings and try to expound it, try to preach it, because they think that these particular teachings are very good to them, and they practice it, and they think that it is good to them. So they started to preach. So they comes to Pure Land. So if you want to reborn into Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, right? In your next life, you belong to Pure Land, right? Schools, right? Chan schools, meditation, and Vinaya schools. It talks about the norms of how to or the virtues of Buddhists, how a Buddhist behave, especially lay. Of course, there are lay people, and also especially for the monastics. So it's Vinaya. Esoteric. It is about it's also it's 密教. Okay, so esoteric is about it talks about more like inner spiritual calls between a person to his guru, and also the emptiness, and the rest of 4 are more theoretical. Okay, so there are emptiness, mind only, Huayan, and Tiantai. Okay, so emptiness is based on 三论中. It is 大制度中论. Okay, so that is it talks about emptiness, like causes and conditions. Right, and mind only, it is about Buddhist psychology. Okay, so it is it talks about about all about the mind. So if you want to know more about Buddhist psychology, what the Buddhist view on psychology, you can look for the text of the mind-only schools. Okay, and Huayan is based on Huayan Jing. Okay, and Tiantai is based on the Lotus Sutra. Okay, so these these 8 schools has their followers, and the followers believe that their schools are very beneficial, and they started to preach, preach to the people their teachings. Okay, and so this is how Buddhist thought or Buddhist teachings that influence the Chinese language. Okay, so let's try to move to the next chapter. It's called the common expressions in Chinese language. Okay, so I would like to take an example of these. Oh, let me see. Okay, take an example of this particular Chinese saying. Right? I think you know 盲人摸象, right? Okay, this is actually 盲人摸象 is from a Buddhist story. Yeah. Okay. So the 盲人摸象, the story goes like this. There are a group of people that is visually inconvenienced. They are blind men. Okay. So they the only way they can explore the world or know the world is to using their touch, right? Or their other senses except the vision. So there comes an elephant, and they are very excited. So they said that, they thought that, there is finally they have a chance to know what an elephant like. So they use their touch to touch the elephant. There are 4 blind men, right? And each blind man touched different part of the elephant. And then they thought that they touched enough, they have touched enough, so they took off. Okay, and they have never had a chance to explore the whole elephant. Okay, and they think that it is enough. Okay, and then so there are one man who touched the trunk of the elephant, and he thought that the elephant is like the hose. One who touched the ear thought that it is elephant is as a fan. One who touched the body thought that the elephant is like the wall. And the last person who touched the foot of the elephant thought that the elephant is like the pillar. Okay. So they were very happy because they got a chance. They finally got the chance to know what is an elephant like. Okay, so there one time they gathered together and wanted to share the experience of what an elephant like. Okay, and they are arguing because their experience are so true, and they try to deny the experiences of others, and they have arguments. Alright, so this is the story of the elephant, right? Okay, so as you know, 盲人摸象. Okay, so what is the moral of the story? Okay, this is a very common, right? Common, 成语 in Chinese. Okay, so let's try to have volunteers. I need 2 volunteers to reenact this story. Okay, so I need 2 volunteers to be as blind men. Anyone? Always shaking, or just like. When I'm talking this story to the American students, that's fine. Okay, when I say I need 3 volunteers. Okay, here I ask only 2. There I ask 3. Okay, and they say me. Okay, so that is you can tell the cultural difference. It is really very different for Chinese community. Any volunteers? Okay. Okay, I won't bite. Okay, but for the Chinese, for English, oh me. Okay, please. Okay, you can stand here. Okay, and I need one more. Okay, one more. Okay, two. Okay, so I need, what you have to do is I would like you to face the audience. Okay, and then you may close your eyes and then right hands out and palms up. Okay, so I would like you, I will give you something. Okay, I will put something on your palm, and you have to feel it. Okay, don't grab it, but just feel it. Okay, feel the thing that is on your palm, and then after that you try to feel it thoroughly, and then after that I will ask you to talk about what you have felt and what you think the thing it is. Okay, so close your eyes. Okay, so now first one. Okay, so don't grab it. You can say okay if you are fine. Okay, you're done. Okay, don't open your eyes yet. Okay, close your eyes. Okay, another one. Don't grab it. Okay. Close your eyes. Okay, so you can put down your hand and open your eye. Okay, so I will pass to the mic to you, and please tell me your name and what you have felt and what you think it is.
Okay, I'm CS Chun-Sing. Okay, that's my initial. So it's kind of very soft and smooth. So I would think it might be a soft toy.
So,
Soft toy.
soft.
Yeah. Okay. It's a toy, like a teddy bear or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. A teddy bear, or like a stuffed toy, right? A stuffed toy. Okay. So he thinks it is a stuffed toy. Okay. And I would like to interview another beautiful lady.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I think it's hard and it's squarish or rectangular in shape. But I kind of like, because I think my hand was trying to fiddle with it, and I felt something furry on top, but generally it's hard. It's like a box.
The box.
I feel like a box, like a container.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's solid.
So
Yeah.
what do you think it is?
I don't know. The initial thing is, am I carrying a pencil case or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You think that it is a pencil case?
Or a container that you can put stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So I'll give you 2 minutes to discuss together. Okay, and then you can express yourself what you have felt. Okay, and try to guess what it is. Okay, so please. Huh? What?
No more.
No. Okay. So usually when they're talking, then you know?
Yes.
Okay, so yes.
The whiteboard cleaner.
Oh, good. Okay. Very good. Yes, it is a whiteboard cleaner. Whiteboard eraser. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. So that it is good, because yesterday when I played this game with the BLIA people in JB, they cannot guess what it is. Maybe it is a different whiteboard eraser because it is really different, and because they just touch it, they didn't grab it. Okay, and so they were complaining the information is too little. Okay, so they cannot come up with anything. Okay, so one side is soft, flurry, and one side is hard. Okay, totally complete different experience. Okay, but it is the same thing. Okay, so if you have no further information, okay, can you come up with the correct things? No, right? Okay, so actually this one, okay, the 盲人摸象, the story that Buddha wanted to tell us is that, okay, actually we are just like the blind men. Okay, so sometimes we are just looking at a part of an angle of an event, or a part of it, or a part of the world. Okay, and we think that this is the whole world, and that causes us trouble. And we hold on to that conceptions, and we think that our experience is so true because this is really true, because it's all experienced by me, right? True experience, first hand, it's first hand, right? Okay. And then sometimes we started to argue or disagree with others, and that caused problem. Okay, but we are seeing the world. We are seeing the same world. Okay, just like we are, these two volunteers, brave volunteers, okay, touching the same object but different part. And that different part is really it's like a contrasting, there's just like different feelings. Okay, so for this one, the Buddha tells us, or wanted to teach us that actually we have to have an open mind. Okay, when someone tells her experience, it doesn't mean that her experience is false. Actually, both of our experiences are true, are very true, but we are just seeing different angles. Just like the blind man touching the same elephants. Okay, so we have to be open-minded. Okay. So in the game, I usually say that some of also have some reflections, okay, saying that if you are the blind man, okay, and you wanted to know the puzzles, the whole world, what you are going to do. Okay. You can get more information. Okay, then maybe talking to each other, right? Because when you are in different entities, you cannot come up with this the whole pictures, right? But if you are having a joint effort, you got it right? Okay, so asking others might have more information. Okay, and maybe if you have more time, you can touch you can explore other places, right? Okay, just like the blind man's, when you're touching nose, can I have more time to touch other parts, right? You can ask for more informations and more time and more experiences. Okay? So don't let some experiences hindrance you, okay? Because there are more things that is beyond our experiences that we cannot see yet or we cannot touch yet. Right? So this is a very Buddhist thought. Okay, but it is is commonly spoken in a Buddhist in a Chinese way, right? Okay, in Chinese term. So this is our common expressions sometimes shares the Buddhist thought or Buddhist teachings that we never know. Okay. So for example, 胡说八道, right? Okay, you have heard about that. Okay. So 胡说八道 now it is a negative term. Okay, but in the original terms is that the Hu, okay, the monk that comes from the foreign country, right, is preaching the 8 noble path. 八道, 八正道, 8 noble path. Okay. So it is a descriptions, but right now it is kind of like very negative. Okay, so like 天花乱坠, okay, it's kind of like also negative, but it's also a Buddhist term. Okay, and 天花乱坠 actually is when Buddha speaks, okay, and then there are celestial beings spraying the flowers, okay, to kind of like honoring the Buddha. Okay, so it is kind of like honoring the Buddha. Okay, so now it's 天花乱坠. It's like, are you talking nonsense? Right? Okay, so it's very different. Some of them are kind of when time changed and the meaning got changed. Okay, so there are examples in the book. Okay, and I think that the translation is very good. Some of the translation is good, and so if you happen to have translation jobs, or you used to translate in the temple, okay, you're the translation volunteers, maybe it is a very helpful references. Okay, yeah, okay. And another one, haha. Okay, so this is another one. Yuan. This is a very common terms or very common concepts that shares in Buddhist community. Right? But it comes from Buddhism, Buddhist thought. Okay, Buddhist teachings. 缘，我们很有缘哦 right? Okay, so 缘 means conditions. 缘 means connections. Okay, so yuan means relations. Okay, relationships. Okay, so there are in yuan causes and conditions, and another one with a girl beside in yuan. Okay, means that you want to look for marriage relationships, right? Okay, and 缘分. Okay, okay. 结缘, this is for Buddhists. Okay, I have these small souvenirs for you to 结缘, right? Building up a good relationship. Okay, yeah. And 广结善缘, okay. And the Venerable says that, 打斋, okay, when you're donating your efforts, okay, or donating your money, okay, you are building up connections with others. Okay, so 广结善缘. Okay, 投缘. When I see you at the first time, I think that we are a long lost friend. Okay, 投缘, right? Okay, and 惜缘, okay, it's like we have to treasure each other. Okay, our relationships. Okay, so yuan is being very commonly used, and it is actually a Buddhist concept, okay, but we never know that. Okay, so there are a lot of examples that I will because it is Chinese, and I think it is very hard to even though we are Chinese and most of you understand Chinese, but I think we can try to use lively or right now is happening examples, okay, to explain the language and the Buddhist culture that influence the languages. Okay, so now the Buddhist culture is influencing the Western language right now. So let's take some example. Okay, Zen. Okay, Zen actually is a Japanese pronunciation for Chan. Zen. Okay. And Zen has already has a very about more than 50 years of these concepts are more than 50 years already in Western country. Okay, so you can see a lot of people saying that, oh, you're very Zen. It means that, oh, you're in a deep meditation emotions or situation. Okay, you're very Zen. And there are some restaurant or cafe say, oh, Zen cafe. Okay, Zen. Okay, they are using Zen as their brand. Okay, or Zen book, right? There's a Zen book. Right? And also next is the Buddha. Okay, so when you're searching on the internet, when Buddha's quote, actually there are a lot of quotes from Buddhist scriptures right now in English. Okay, and so actually Western people are looking for their answer of their life, right? From the Oriental philosophy, right, including Buddhism, right now, right? Because they think that capitalism or consumerism is no longer their answers of their life. So they're looking for answers, or Christianity is not enough right now. So they're looking for an answer in Buddhism. Okay. So it is a trend right now. Okay. So Buddha, also they're very familiar with Happy Buddha. Happy Buddha is 弥勒佛 for them. Okay, because they're very choppy and smiley, so they call him Happy Buddha, or just a very straightforward choppy Buddha. Okay, yeah, or big belly Buddha. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so Buddha is a very common term right now for them too. Another one, karma. Actually, for me, karma is a very for Westerner. Okay, karma is a relatively new concept in Buddhist in Western language. Okay, before, when I was serving in LA, like 15 years ago, when I first got into LA or United States, I have never heard about people saying karma, or I haven't hear people or TV shows talking about karma. Okay, but right now, I hear a lot of people talking about karma, and I have heard about a lot of TV shows using the word karma, okay, in their shows, or in their talk shows, or anything. Okay, so the word karma is is more well known right now. Okay, and so for this one, this is a karmic, and it's called this is the karma, right? So it pushed the dominoes, and actually the dominoes will just come back. Right? Okay. So that it says karma. Okay. And I think the reason why this concept of karma are very accepted by the Westerner, it is because the Westerner has in their Christian background, they have a certain similar concept too. It is called what comes around goes around. Okay, so this is a very similar concept. So they can easily accept karma, the word karma. Okay, so this is really happening. Okay, so we are not studying history right now. We're studying life history. Okay, okay, so Sangha. Right. And this is how the word are very, having different meanings in different communities. Okay, Sangha for a Buddhist community it means the monastic, right? For monks and nuns, right? Bhikkhu and bhikkhuni and samanera and samanerica. Okay, but for a Westerner, Sangha just means community or a group of people. Okay, so recently, maybe 1 year or 2 years ago, I received an email from prison in St. Louis, and the email says that, oh hi, I'm one of the prison in certain place. Okay. And I'm the criminal there. Okay, I'm the residence there. Okay, I'm the residence there. Okay, and my fellow residents had established sangha in this correctional institute. Okay, and now I'm asking for a teacher to teach there, or to have have a class there. So they are using sangha, right, as a kind of like as a group, a spiritual group, or as a spiritual community. Okay, so that is a very interesting. Okay, so just like 天花乱坠 or 胡说八道, right? It changed the meaning. It had changed the meaning. Okay, so sangha has changed the meaning to the Westerner. Okay, another one, nirvana. Okay, so you know that in maybe back in 80s, I don't know, maybe 80s, right? There is a rock band called the name of the rock band Nirvana, right? It's a very popular one, right? Okay, yeah. So if I talk about Nirvana to the Westerner audience, they will think of these three guys instead of of those Buddhist or religious concepts. Okay, but right now Nirvana is also accepted, and they are trying to kind of like already knowing what is the Nirvana means. So there is a comic here, saying on the family trip to Nirvana. Okay, so there are people or a family who are meditating, and the kid say, "Are we there yet?" Okay, this is a family trip, right? Okay. So for American, they tend to drive, right? Okay. A whole family driving from a place to another place during holiday season, right? And the kids always say, "Are we there yet?" Right? Okay. So the families they have a family trip to Nirvana. Right. So this is a very American humor. Okay. So these are several examples of this life history. Right? It's happening right now. Okay. So for example, that a Buddhist concepts are really influencing a culture, a culture of their usage of their language. Okay, so before it was the Chinese language was being influenced by the Buddhism. Right now, the Western society are influenced by Buddhism also. Okay, so we can see, we can compare it. Okay, so very, very interesting. Okay, so now I think the talk is from 9:30, right? Okay, so I will leave for the second, the second half for tomorrow, and so I'm now open for questions, Q&A. Do you have any questions on languages? Oh, okay. 放下屠刀立地成佛. Okay. Okay. The concept of the word Buddha. Okay. It doesn't really mean you are really becoming enlightened as the Buddha. Okay. But it means that it's a kind of change. Okay. It means that when you are when you change your mind, okay, you change your the way you are, or the future you are. Okay, so it is not as the word said. It is just a concept. Okay, and so it doesn't mean that when I'm killing people, right, so it encourage we kill people, and then when we are putting it down, and we become Buddha. Okay, so it doesn't mean that. Okay, it doesn't mean the sayings is not like that. Okay, it means that when we change the way we think, okay, from negative to positive, then our future or the situation that we are having is already being changed, okay, from negative to positive. Yeah. Okay. So 放下屠刀，立定成佛. Okay. So it doesn't mean that we really you will see people flying as a Buddha. Okay. Yeah. And just okay. Yeah. Yes. Anyone?
Do you see actually a trend, increasing trend, or in the US where they are more receptive and they are turning themselves not exactly Buddhist, but they are coming to learn more about Buddhism. And on the other side, you actually see a decreasing trend in the Chinese region where you see that lesser and lesser population is believing in Buddhism.
You mean Westerner, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You see like an increasing trend in the Westerner trying to learn more about Buddhism. Increasing trend in Chinese. China,
okay.
Moving away from Buddhism when it was actually the origin, how Buddhism actually flourished.
So for my observation, okay, in the Western country, yes, the Buddhism actually are flourishing. Okay, or they not Buddhism as religion, but Buddhism as a philosophy or a way of life. Okay, so but this trend is not because not being seen by the growing population of Buddhism or growing population of Buddhists. Okay, because we know that in the Western country, they have a strong background of Christian background. Okay, so if they want to claim themselves as a Buddhist, they have to be very brave, and it takes them for a long time of thinking back and forth. Okay, so it is very hard for them to claim themselves or convert themselves from Christianity or any other Jewish or something into pure Buddhism. Okay. So right now the trend is, okay, there are a lot of Christians or a lot of Jewish, they are reading Buddhist book. Okay. And they claim themselves as Jubu. Jubu means they are Jewish and Buddhist. Called Jubu. Crispu. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that is a trend. Okay. I met someone. Oh, I'm a Jubu. Or, you know. Okay. Okay. So they're actually. Venerable Master said that there are in Westerner the trend is that there are trains to take there are two religions. They can take two religions. Okay, and so and there are some other group of people say that they are Jubu or Crispu, and another one they are more like they are hidden Buddhists. They don't claim themselves as Jubu or Crispu, and they don't go to church anymore. Okay. But they read Buddhist books. Okay. So we call them as bookshelf Buddhists. Okay. So they just read Buddhist books, maybe as a spiritual growth. But they don't claim themselves and they don't convert themselves into Buddhism. And they don't practice Buddhist rituals. Because I think that it is because right now, I'm not sure about Europe, but in America, there is a trend that people are against to the institutional religion. So it means that they are against of Catholics, that is very institutionalized, and they're against that. Okay, and they claim themselves spiritual practitioners. So there are a lot of people right now claiming then they don't have a religion, but they are spiritual. Yeah. So weird. So they don't want to, frame themselves into an institute like a religion, right? But they are just saying that they are spiritual, right? And so there are a lot of spiritual group, and the spiritual group just include all of the Oriental philosophies and also Christianities, and they study all together. So they practice yoga, they practice Tai Chi, they practice meditation, something like that. Yeah, and so in Chinese community, okay, and so because the decrease of the Buddhists, okay, I believe it is because that. Buddhism is a very an old religion. Okay, so we need to revive it. Okay, so in a relatively new terms, that a way that the modern Chinese can accept it. Okay. So, for example, what we have done right now in Guangshan, I think it is more, people are more accepted. Right? They can accept. It is just not just like you are sitting there, 眼观鼻观心, okay, or it's more lively. Okay, and also, people tend to be afraid of reading the Buddhist scriptures, and they think that it is too much. And right now, tomorrow I'm going to talk about causes of the decline of Chinese Buddhism. And one of the cause is, the humongous volume of the Buddhist text. Okay, so there are too much to read. Okay, too much to read. Okay, and that causes problem too. Okay, so that is the reason why that the Venerable Master Xing Yun wanted to pull this one to the original intent of the Buddha, right? To make it simplified and to make it down on the earth. It is not just up there. It is around us. It's in our life. It is easy. It's not hard. Okay. Yeah. Any other one? One last question. Yes.
So in the process of propagating humanistic Buddhism, to this Western culture or Westerners who are Christian or Catholics, what is it in humanistic Buddhism that we are so receptive to? Or on the reverse, what are the factors that make them don't so receptive to humanistic Buddhism?
It's a very similar concept to Venerable Master has said, humanistic Buddhism. And in Thich Nhat Hanh, they said that engaged Buddhism. Right? It is also say that Buddhism is just you can live in Buddhism. Buddhism is alive. You can live in Buddhism in your daily life. Okay, so that is Thich Nhat Hanh. So right now it is a trend for a Westerner accepting Buddhism as practical, as you can see it in your daily life. That a theory of that. Okay, so they are accepting it, but the terms are different. Like there are some ones that engaging Buddhism or humanistic Buddhism or Buddhism in your daily life. Okay? So there are a lot of concept or a lot of saying about that, okay, from different masters. Okay, so like Thich Nhat Hanh, Dalai Lama, also from Venerable Master. So I think they are already accepting it. Okay. But for the effort that we have done is less than what other venerables or like what other Buddhist schools are doing. Okay, so we have, because we are more on serving on Chinese community in America. So we have less effort on serving on mostly majority Americans. Okay, so that is that is what we have to, trying to do more. And so, but Westerner are accepting it. Okay, but we have to do, as a Guang, a member in Guang, we have to do more in propagating it. Okay, yeah.
Just now, earlier on, you pointed out the uniqueness in the languages in Malaysia and Singapore, which is a mixture of English, Chinese, Hokkien, Teochew, etc. So, from my generation onwards, 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, Singapore and Malaysia, especially Singapore kids and youth, we no longer speak proper Chinese. Yeah, and they are resistant to proper Chinese stuff. So when it comes to propagating Buddhism to this future batch of people in Singapore, in your opinion, what is the best way of languages to use to attract this kind of this group of people? That means our kids. Yeah, like my peers, they no longer once we left school, we no longer speak proper Chinese. Yeah.
When you're talking about proper Chinese, it is Mandarin Chinese. So for my opinion, okay, because I don't live here, okay, so my opinion, okay, it is your uniqueness, okay, of your language, okay. So there is no advantages and disadvantages. We cannot say this is not good, or saying Singlish or sing Chinese, I don't know how to sing English Chinese, okay, it's not good. Okay, it is just the way you say it. Okay, but language is just a medium of expressing your thoughts, okay, to the people. Okay. So we have to use the language that people are easily digest. Okay. So we cannot use classical Chinese 文言文. Right, let's talk about 文言文 right now. Okay, so who will buy it? No one, right? Okay, everyone will fall asleep. Okay, so back in the Buddha's time, okay, Buddha allowed using people or his follower to use Pali as a medium of preaching preaching Buddhism. Okay. And Pali is a language that is spoken by the common people. It is not Sanskrit. Sanskrit is spoken by a even higher, relatively high level, higher level class of the people. Okay. So, for my opinion, as there is an example made by the Buddha. Okay? So we have to find our way, okay, that is very easily to being digested maybe by our children. Okay? Maybe it is in English, or maybe even a Singlish. That's okay. Okay? So nobody will say that it is wrong. Okay? Unless you express yourself. All right, you express this, you deliver the Buddhist message correctly, and no matter what language you use, then that's okay. Okay, so this is my second part of the talk, and so I would like to quickly review about the previous talk, okay, the part 1, okay, last night. Okay. So my talk is based on the book by Venerable Master Xing Yun, Humanistic Buddhism, Holding True to the Original Intent of Buddha. Okay, and this is a recent book that the Venerable Master written and published. And so my topic is about the chapter 4. So it is the development of Buddhism in China. But this is a very big chapter. So we have divided 3 parts. So for me, it is the last part of the chapter. So I'm talking about language and the cause of decline of Buddhism in China. So if you have a book, the book and the talk is it falls on page 196 to 249. Okay. So after this talk, if you are very interested, then actually this book are for free distribution. So both in Chinese and English. Okay. So you can get it from the information center or information desk. Okay, so you're free to ask. Okay, so I'm going to talk about language. Yesterday, we have talked about language. And so language, the most important thing that the Venerable Master said in the book is that actually our Chinese language was greatly influenced by Buddhism. Okay. And so he had concluded 3. Let me see. Okay, this is not okay. Okay, he has concluded 3 reasons. Okay, and so there are a lot of efforts that the Buddhists had done to spread Buddhism in China and make Chinese language that is enriched by Buddhist expressions. So it is through translation, spread of Buddhist texts, and the concurrent sectarian realities. So for Buddhists, okay, Buddhist followers have spent 900 years, right, in translating the Buddhist text into Chinese. Okay, so it is about from Han Dynasty, it's about 180s till Tang Dynasty. So it is about 880s. So totally, it is 900 years in translating. Okay. So after translation, so what we are going to do is to circulate what they had translated. Okay. So we have edited and compiled it into a Buddhist canon called Da Zhang Jing, Buddhist canon. Okay. And so you can see it. I think you can find one or two Buddhist canon in the library here. Okay. And so and after Song Dynasty, because of the printing technology, invention of the printing technology, and so the spread of Buddhist texts are being, are faster, and it's widespread. Okay? So after the Buddhist texts, there are a lot of monks and Buddhist followers who has based on the core teaching of the Buddha, and they had elaborate certain teaching of the Buddha, okay? And it became 8 schools, 8 Chinese Buddhist schools. Okay? So this is how our Chinese or Buddhism spread, and how Chinese language is enriched by Buddhist expressions. And so Venerable Master had cited a lot of Buddhist or Chinese expressions that are originally from Buddhism. Okay, so there is. Let me have some examples. Okay, so if you have a Chinese background, you know 盲人摸象, right? Okay, it is a blind man's exploration. So 盲人摸象 actually is from a Buddhist story. Okay, so we had a game yesterday. Okay, maybe if we have time later, we can have a game again. Okay, yeah. Okay, and so these are from the Buddhist teachings. Okay. And also there is a commonly spoken word called 缘分. Okay, that is also based on the Buddhist teachings. Okay, so we can say, we have you and I have a lot of 缘分. Okay, yuan is like conditions, okay, connections, relations, okay, relationships. Okay, so I have a 缘分 to be here, because that Venerable Master had written this book, and I was being asked to present or share the teachings of the Venerable Master. Okay, so this is so we can say 缘. Also we can say 广结善缘, right? Okay, so this is commonly heard in the Buddhist temple. Okay, or I give you one of the souvenirs, and I can in order for us to build a connections or a simple relationships. Okay, so we can give you this called 结缘. Okay, 广结善缘 means to build up a lot of good relationships. Okay, so these are the very common concepts that are influenced by Buddhism. Okay, this I believe that you have heard this a lot, right? Okay, especially when you're in. I think that you are already married, so there's nothing. But before you get married, okay, there are someone will, or your relatives will say, where's your 姻缘? Okay, And where is your, other half, right? Am I going to ask for your other half? Okay, relationships. Okay, so it's called 姻缘. Okay, so but this with with a girl characters, okay, 姻缘 here. Right? This is the the condition relationships for marriage. Okay, so these are some of the briefing for last night. Okay, so now we're going to go to our topic. Before we're going to talk about the decline of the Buddhism, I would like to talk about more about the languages, okay, because I believe that it is very important. Right? Especially for the Chinese, because we are having a Chinese influence, so we can talk about that. And so, during the translation periods in these 900 years in Chinese Buddhism, so in Chinese Buddhist history, there are like about 200 years. There are a system called concept matching systems. Okay, we call it 格义佛教. Okay, so what is that? Is that because at that time, Buddhist theory or Buddhist concepts are relatively new to all the Chinese people. So what does Buddhist followers did is to introduce the new Buddhist concept, by adopting or comparing it with an existing Chinese philosophy or philosophical idea. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so let's try to kind of like making an example. Okay, so for being in Singapore, we know what is durian, right? Have you ever tasted durian before? Yes, right? Okay, so no problems. But how do you describe durians to a newbie? Like, for example, maybe the one who came from Taiwan or come from North America, right? They don't have those things. Okay, so how do you describe it? Anyone? I hear some sound. Huh? Rotten fish? It smells like rotten fish? Do you mean? Okay, so those who, but you, okay, let's put it in this way. You want to introduce what a durian is. You don't want to impose a bad impression for those who don't know it yet. Okay, so maybe try to make a positive one first. Then maybe, and then you can add that. Okay, the rotten fish comment. Okay, so what does it look like? The durian. Okay, spiky things. Okay. And how does it smell? Uh-huh. Oh, okay. But how does it look like? We don't talk about the smell yet or the taste yet. Okay. How does it look like? What does it look like? How the shape? How can you kind of like describe it with something that they know, and yeah.
It looks like a jackfruit, but it has more spine on the outer.
Okay.
Layer.
Okay.
And as compared to jackfruit, I'm not sure.
Jackfruit. Okay. But jackfruit is also an tropical fruit, right? So no, So anything else? How do you describe how does it look like? Okay. The most bark?
Look like a cannonball. It's very huge, round, but it's spiky.
Oh, okay. Okay, round but spiky. A ball? It's like kind of like a ball and round, but it is spiky. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about how does it smell. What does it smell like? Okay, in the middle of the cheese or blue cheese. Okay, what else? Sweet blue cheese. Okay, sweet blue cheese. Okay, what else? Okay, so how do you call it? What is the position? The king of the fruit, right? Okay, so we can just try to introduce to the newbies. Okay, that durian is what? Is the king of the fruit, right? Okay, so here. Okay, so for me, okay, for me, if I would like to introduce durian to someone who doesn't know it, okay, of course, the king of the fruit, right? Okay, and don't tell me why. Okay, I don't know. And it looks like a kind of weapon, right? You call it 流星锤. I don't know how to say that. Okay, yeah. And I believe that in Western weapon there is something similar. Okay, so I will introduce them. Oh, this is it just looked like that. Okay. And there is a gassy smell. Okay, it's a gassy. Maybe blue cheese. Okay, yeah. Okay. And so interestingly, that one time there is a friend who came from Brazil. Okay. He just come up. He was a follower of in Brazil of Guang Shan. Okay. So he came to L.A. Shilai Temple, and he had a breakfast with us. Okay, so it was a Chinese style breakfast. Okay, so the Chinese style is the kanji, right? 稀饭. Okay, and some other vegetables dishes, and there are 豆腐乳, that fermented tofu. Yeah, and so when he was looking at 豆腐乳, okay, so I was trying to associate 豆腐乳 with something that he knows. Okay. And that 豆腐乳 is something very special. It is 臭豆腐乳. It's stinky, fermented tofu. Okay, so that makes things more complicated, right? Okay, so so lastly, I just said, oh, this is the Chinese blue cheese. You can try that, but it is made in tofu. Right? Okay, so and when he looked at that, he has a confusion and confused expression, facial expression on him. But when I said, oh, it is the blue cheese, Chinese style of blue cheese, and he said, oh yes, and he took one in his bowl. Okay, but I forgot to mention it is very salty. So he finished the kanji, and then after that he just took a bite of the tofu and said, oh. That was very salty. Okay, so that is my experience. Okay, so this is when back in 220 to 589 AD, around that time. Okay, so I believe that you already have this one sheet of the paper, so you may know that the official record of Buddhism first entered China is on 67 AD. Okay, so this system happens on 220 AD, starts from that time, right? Okay, it's called concept matching systems. Okay, and so it is just about 100 years after that Buddhism spread into China, entered China. So really, the Chinese doesn't have any clue on Buddhism. So they have to use Chinese philosophy or philosophical ideas, okay, to compare or to adopt, okay, to try to associate Chinese to some Buddhist ideas. Okay, so let's try to take a look at it. Some examples. For example, okay, Kong. Now everyone knows Kong, right? Okay, but for the Chinese in 220 AD, they had no clue. Okay, so Kong is emptiness. Okay? It was a new Buddhist concept at that time. Okay, so what the Buddhist monk or the Buddhists that time do is to try to adopt a Taoist ideas called Wu. Okay, Lao Zhuang, right? Okay, Zhuangzi and Laozi. Okay, there is an ideas of Wu. It's called nothingness or non-doing. Wu Wei. Okay, so this is the existing Taoist idea. Okay, so to correlate the the new concept of Buddhists. Okay, so let the Chinese knows. Oh, they have some clue. Okay, so next is how the Buddhists do it. Okay, use Confucius concepts, okay, to correlate it with the new Buddhist concepts. Okay, so Wu Jie, everyone knows Wu Jie, right? Okay, no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no intoxicant. Okay, but before there's what is that? I don't know. Okay, so Chinese doesn't know, so they have to use Wu Chang to explain. Okay, why we have to observe 5 precepts. Okay, Wu Chang is 仁义智人永驻. I forgot. Okay. So 5 constant virtues. Okay, so this is a Confucianist idea. So they can, the Chinese can relate, okay, to those ideas. Okay. So right now I would like to use my personal experience in America because when right now Buddhism is really new, right, to the American people. So when I was invited to a school to introduce Buddhism, I tried to use Christianity to explain what is Buddhism, or the similarity between Buddhism and Christianity. So they won't get frightened. Okay, they'll say, "Oh yeah, yes." Okay, they are very, very similar. Okay, so here. Okay, so these are some objects that we carry. So the prayer beads. You know that some of you has a prayer beads, right? Okay, on your wrists. Okay. And for Catholic, there is something called rosary. Okay, so I will just compare it with rosary to the prayer beads, and they know. Okay, it is an item to making prayers or to concentrate oneself. Okay. And also we have some gestures that are very very similar, like prostrations. Right now we call it full bows, but in Catholicism they call prostrations. So they just lay down on the ground. That's very interesting. They're like 五体投地, right? And for us, we have prostrations too, right? We do full bows to the Buddha, or when we are having a pilgrimage, Chao Shan, we do full bows too. Okay, so and also for the monastic systems, okay, for Christians, they have monastery. Okay, so there are monks. Okay, and for Buddhists, we have monastery too. Okay, so Venerable Jue Qian, okay, I believe that you know, some of you might know her, Venerable Jue Qian. She's now serving in Boston, but she is a Singaporean. Okay. So when one time when she was serving in Boston, and there was someone, an American, challenged her, say that why do you use monks or monastery, monastics? That is our Christian terms. Why do you use Christian terms to call yourself? And Venerable Jue Qian said that, okay, yes, actually the proper term calling us is called bhikkhuni, bhikkhuни. Okay. But when I call myself bhikkhuni, do you understand what it is? And he said, no, I don't know. Okay. So, and Venerable Jue Qian said, that is why we have to use Christian term to make you understand who I am. Okay. So this is the concept, matching systems. Okay. And another one. Okay. So as the Chinese or the Buddhists using Confucianism, okay, to correlate with Wu Jie, right, a previous one. Now I use right, 10 commandments in Christianity with 5 precepts. Okay, of course there are some commandments that is not really similar. Okay, that is about God. Okay, but I have my way to say it. Okay, and to let them know, okay, that we have our morality too. Okay, and the morality that Buddhist has is very similar to Christianity. Okay, except this one. we don't do drugs, or we don't drink. Okay, so these are very different. Otherwise, these 4 are really pretty much the same. Okay, we can say that. Okay, so this is the systems that we had used before. Okay, but right after that, because all of the Chinese knows what does the Buddhism means, then so we no longer use that system. Okay, but right now in Western, in a Western country, we are still using it. Okay, so that is some information for you to know. Okay, and so what we can learn, okay, about language. Okay, this is from the book. This is said by the comment by Venerable Master. Okay, so I would like to read it out loud. It is important that the language used in humanistic Buddhism is not rigid. Okay. A reasonable level of adaptation to ensure the readability and fluency of the Buddhist language is necessary. Okay, it is on page 200. Okay, so that means that last night, yesterday, I was being asked, okay, about how should we, as a Singaporean or Chinese, use the language to introduce Buddhism to our next generation. Okay, so I think this pretty much answers the question. Answer the questions. Okay, so actually we can adopt any languages that is acceptable, okay, and that is readable, that is more understandable to those who don't know Buddhism. Okay, so what is Buddhism. Okay, so so this is what the Venerable Master said. Okay, so this is a very important too, because when we are, I know that there are a lot of parents here. Okay, so when we are talking to our children, okay, actually we have to use certain language that they can understand. Okay, so we are using not a big language, big word, okay, but a very plain English for them to understand why we have to behave like this. Right? Okay. Why children has to to say Ami Tofo or Jixiang to the venerables, okay? Or why do we have to respect our elders? Okay? So this is how we have to kind of like introducing durian to the newbies. Okay, so we have to talk to our children. Okay, so just like introducing durians to those who doesn't know. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, and another one is that it's about language too. It is a comment by Venerable Master too. Okay, so he said Buddhist language contains only positive expressions. If we were to continue the beauty of the Buddhist language with the present era of instant communication, the possibilities are astounding. Okay, so that means there are a lot of like yuan, right? It is a very beautiful expressions. Okay, we 结缘, we're building up connections, connecting all the relationships. Treasure the relationships. Okay, so those beautiful words actually we have to continue. Okay, and so we can go back to some of the Buddhist texts, to make our language more positive. And I believe that if we speak positively and we think positively, then our society will be more positive. Okay, so this is the message that the Venerable wanted us to know. Okay, so this is about it. Okay, and now we are going to the next things. This is quite sad. Okay, because we are going to talk about causes of the decline of the Chinese Buddhism. Okay, so Chinese Buddhism, when we are talking about the decline of Chinese Buddhism, we're talking about from when at the time when Buddhists entered China and then up to Qing dynasty or up to maybe Ming Guo. Okay. So I think it is up to Qing dynasty. Okay, so not the contemporary Buddhist era. Okay, not the contemporary one. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Okay, so the cause of decline of Buddhism in China is on page 230 to 249. So if you want to know more about it, you can read the text. Okay. But there are a lot of Chinese histories. Okay, so we have to have a good knowledge about it. Okay, but I have make some summaries and conclusion about it. Okay, so Venerable Master stated 10 reasons why Chinese Buddhism has declined. Okay, and I summarize it into two categories or two factors. One is external, and one is internal. Internal in the sense of among Buddhist community. Okay, external is something that is maybe is a political, social, cultural, or philosophical factors. Okay, so these are the external factors. Okay. So there are 4 factors that I classified it as external. Okay. And the rest of 6 of them are internal. Okay. So let me read it. Okay. Resistance and exclusion by local religions. The prosperity of Buddhism as a cause of apprehension. Buddhism replaced by Neo-Confucianism. The inevitable influence of Western culture. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Right. And the sheets of paper are a good help of these sections of the talk. Okay, so this is the timeline of major events of Chinese Buddhist history. Okay? And so I have stated some major events. Okay? So these are not all, but some of the major events. Okay? And there are asterisks of some of the major events. Okay? So you can take a look at that. Okay? The third one has, in the third row, right, okay, there are asterisks. Okay. So the asterisks, the one with the asterisks, are the one mentioned in Venerable Master's book. Okay, so it serves as a references. Okay, and the one without asterisks is something that I think it is important too in the timeline of the development of Chinese Buddhist history. Okay, so. And I would like you to just, maybe have a drawing or something. Okay, so there are several columns, right, at the right, both right and left of the table. Okay, and so you can see there are -1 to -5, okay, and +1 to +5 at the right hand side of the table. Okay, so what is that? That it means that actually this is an exercise sheet. Okay. So for each event, okay, if you think that it makes a positive effect to Chinese Buddhist history, then you can mark it on the positive side. Right? And number 1 to 5 is the degree. Okay, 1 is the least, and 5 is the most. Okay, so if you think that this event, okay, make the most effect or effect in Chinese Buddhist history, then you can mark +5. If you think that this event is maybe it is not just a moderate ones, then maybe you can just mark +3 or 2. Okay. And if it is a destructive event, then you mark negative. Okay. And number 1 is the least, and number 5 is the most too. Okay, so it is the same. Okay, so you can try to mark it, okay, and you can take it with you. Okay, take it back with you. Okay, so now, do you want to do it after or right now? I can give you some or maybe we can talk about it first. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because maybe this is too because it's more like history. So, okay. Okay. So when we are talking about external factors, there are economic, political, social, cultural, and philosophical factors too. Okay. So I would like to talk about first economical and political side of these external factors. Okay, so there are it usually deals with political things. Okay, so you can see that the oppression from the government, of course, it is political, right? No doubt. Western culture, actually, it means Taiping, heavenly kingdom. This event is happened in Qing dynasty, and Taiping 天国, Taiping heavenly kingdom, actually is a kind of like a rebellious group that would want to, overtake Qing government. And so the reason they use is that they believe in Christianity. So at that time, Christianity is already in China. So they believe that Christianity can overtake Qing dynasty or the Qing authorities. So this is Western culture. So Taiping, heavenly kingdom. So these are also political. This is mainly political. And this one, oppression from the government, also it is political. But the reason why there is an oppression is sometimes economical. So there are 4 oppressions, that falls on these particular times. So you can take a look at it, and I have stated here, so you can just take a look at it and just relate it. Look back to your sheets of the paper, the timeline, and look at that. So at 446 to 452 AD, it is oppression of Buddhism by Emperor Taiwu of Northern Wei. And at 574 to 578, 2 year oppression of Buddhism by Emperor Zhou Wu of Northern Zhou. Zhou Wu Di, And another one next is in Tang Dynasty, which is at 842 to 846 AD. It takes 4 years, and it was done by Emperor Wu Zong. And the last one is in later Zhou. It's in Emperor Xingning. At 955 to 959. So it's 4 years oppressions. So the most one is the longest one, I believe, is the first one, right? And it takes 6 years. And another one is 2 years, 2 years, and 4 years. So total that's 14 years. Total in 14 years. And so before the oppressions, so the Buddhism has reached its peak. And so there are a lot of temples. And the temples receive a lot of donations. And those donations, the wealth of the temple can be greater than the income of the government. So that makes problem. So you know that, right? So if you are not paying tax, the government is looking after you, right? So same as in Chinese history, and also for the monastics, we are tax exempted. So if you become monastics, you are automatically tax exempted. So you don't have to pay your personal tax, and it is a loss for the government too. So there are a lot of people looking, like some of them really, pursuing Buddhist, Buddhist practice, but there are a number of it, they are just escaping tax. They become monastics because they want to escape from paying the tax. Okay, yeah. So there are a number of it. Okay. So the government said this is not right. Okay. Especially at that time, these four emperor and said, no, this is not right. Okay. So they had an order forcing the monastics to disrobe, to go back home. Okay. So you have to pay your tax. Okay. Okay, and you have to do some jobs, right? So you can, improving the economy of the nation, okay. And also, temple are being destroyed, and there are, the Buddha statue was usually made by bronze, right? And so the Buddha statue was being melted. And then those bronze are being molded as a coins to circulate. Okay, yeah. So these are all economic. So majorly, these four oppressions are more economically than political. Okay, but it is, it is being done by a political institute, right? The government. Right? But the reason is economic. Okay, so it's more like economical reason. Okay, so another one. So it is more religious and social side. Okay, it is the resistance by local religion. Okay, and so this one I didn't write down the time because it happens, Actually, it happens all the time during the Chinese Buddhist history. Okay. So in the book, the Venerable Master has had a story about an argument between Taoists and Zhu Falan, the first two monks. Okay. Okay, so and why does the local religion usually it is the Taoists? Okay, and Taoists for it is not just Lao Zhuang, okay, but it is more like Taoists as Dao Jiao. Okay, so it is not Dao Jia. It's not the philosophical part of Taoism, but it is more like a religious practice of Taoism. Okay. So we can say that, religious practice of Taoism is, we call it Namo Lao. Okay. Huh? Yes, Sai Gong or like something like that. Okay, religious practice. Okay. And there are a lot of, gods, like Ma Zhu, SunText, Guang, okay, something like that. Okay, Taoist. Okay. So the reason why they have a resistance because we are not the major or dominant, philosophical practice. Okay, so there are three philosophical practice in China. One is Confucianism, another Taoist, and another one is Buddhism. Okay, so these three are always arguing which one is the first. Okay, so they usually argues. Okay, and so after Han Dynasty, okay, there is a political order. Okay, that's being practiced called 霸主百家独尊儒术. Okay, so it just settled the political government that they will just make the Confucianism as the major, major practice or major philosophical practice for China or for Chinese government. Okay, and so being second or third is very crucial. Okay, so Taoists and Buddhists always fight, and sometimes for the emperor, they think that they will just use Taoists or Buddhists as a way to rule the nation. Okay, so this is also a political issues also. But for the local religions, this is more like a status, social status. Okay, so religious and social status, which one is the second or which one is the first? Okay, so this is all. So this is religious and social side. Okay, and the last one is philosophical side. Okay, so it happened in Shan Dynasty. Confucianism has a reform. And so it became Neo-Confucianism. Okay. So Neo-Confucianism in Chinese is 宋明理学. Okay, 宋明理学. If you have heard about it. Okay. So Neo-Confucianism. So what is that important? Okay. What is that so important? It's because Neo-Confucianism absorbed some of the ideas of Taoists and as well as Buddhists into their philosophical system. And they claim that, my theory is more complete because I have included Taoists and Buddhists already. Okay. So why don't you, and they try to persuade the emperor or the government, saying that, why don't you, just abandon both Buddhists and Taoists, because my system is already complete. Both Confucianism, Taoists, and Buddhists. Okay, so that makes Buddhists even more declined. Okay, so that happens on 1127 AD. It is during Song Dynasty. Okay, so after Tang Dynasty, Tang Song Yuan Ming Qing, is Song Dynasty. Okay, so these are the external factors that includes political, social, economic, and philosophical factors. Okay, and so it makes the decline of Buddhism. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the internal factor. Okay, and see if actually there are the external and internal, sometimes they are very related. They are correlated. Okay, so they are it doesn't happen just one cause, then Buddhism just got declined. Okay, so there are several reasons. Okay, so next we are talking about the internal factor. So there are 6. Seclusion from society. That is being said that the Buddhist monastery being secluded from society. So they moved their temple or monastery into deep mountain. Okay. So now our concept is where if we want to, practice, we have to go to deep mountain, right? That is our, kind of like concept that is already deep rooted. Okay. And so emphasize on metaphysical investigation over human concerns. So that means that it is more like they are talking about, something that is not down on the earth. Okay, it is not about something around us in our life. It is something that is not. It is more philosophical. It is more like some mind activities. Okay, Okay. And next, chanting and repentance services leading to the decline of moral ethics. Okay. Troubles caused by beliefs in deities and spirits. Okay. So these are the internal factors. Okay. And chanting and repentance service, okay, are mostly, the financial source of a temple. Okay. So we get donations from chanting and repentance service, right? Okay. Before Tang Dynasty or Song Dynasty, okay, the temple was built by the government, okay, and how they sponsor themselves is the government will give them a vast piece of land, okay, so they can lend out to the farmers, okay, and then after that the farmers will pay the rent to the temple, so they can get the financial support, okay, the most, so it is self-sufficient, okay. But after maybe Song Dynasty or Ming Dynasty, okay, the government no longer giving away the land, so the temple has no more, financial support from the land, okay. So they have to use chanting and repentance service, okay, to make money, to support themselves, okay. Okay. And so when we are talking about chanting and repentance services, then it tends to shift our focus from the teaching to praying. Okay. And so what we pray or who we pray for, maybe we pray to the gods, we pray to the spirits, but not doing the teachings anymore. Okay. So actually this is a cause and effect. Okay. They are very closely related. Okay. Another one is distorted views on Buddhist caused by heretics. Okay. So and that means that there is no masters or the Buddhist monks, like, had taught wrongly. Okay, we're going to talk about that later. Right? And then another one is the intimidating large corpus of Buddhist texts. Okay. What we had trying to compile all the texts, and making it a Buddhist canon makes problems because it is so huge and nobody knows where to start. Right? Where to start? Book 1 or the last one, or you just pick any one you want? Okay, so that makes problem. Okay, so this is the internal factors. Okay, so I have group them into 4 categories. Okay. Seclusion from society, okay, that we have mentioned, okay, that happened in Ming Dynasty. Okay, so if you look back to the oppressions, okay, so the last oppressions from later Zhou, right? Okay, it's at 955 to 959. Okay, so it is in Zhou, okay, Hou Zhou. Right? So it is between Tang Dynasty and Song Dynasty. Okay, and so there are no oppressions afterward. There means that there's no oppressions in Song Dynasty and Yuan, Ming, Qing. Okay, but I think the emperor or the government gets smart, okay, because they look back to the history of these oppressions, these 4 oppressions. Okay, then they found out that after the oppressions, okay, the emperor that success, or that the later emperor revived Buddhism, right after the oppression. Okay, so I think that the government think it is no use to make an oppressions. Okay, so what they do is they try to persuade the monk through their teachings, by their teachings, saying that, oh yeah, the Buddha said that, oh, if you want to practice, you have to meditate. The meditation happens not in the cities, right? Maybe you have to go to a deep mountain. So they try to, persuade them to move their temples to the mountain. Okay, so that happens in Ming Dynasty. Okay, so afterward, the temples move to the Ming Dynasty, in the Ming Dynasty, and move to the mountain. So it's secluded from the society. So they have no connections with the people anymore. Okay. And so how does it make seclusion? Okay, actually we can say that these three are also making the seclusion from society even worse. Okay, so let's take a look. Distorted view on Buddhism. Okay, so there are happening when we are talking about. There is a joke being talked by Venerable Master. Right? So there were some. He taught this joke. Right? So there was some devotees. Went to the Dharma talk of a very well-known, famous monk. And when he go back and he talked to, he shared his experience with his wife and said that, oh, you know what? The Dharma talk is so nice, okay, and so knowledgeable. Okay. And so the wife said, oh, really? It is so nice? Okay. So what can you share with me? Okay. And the man said, I don't know, so it is so nice. Okay. So, and usually I heard when, during my, sharing or during my talking with some other devotees, and some of the devotees said that, oh, 师父, your teaching is so 玄. Okay, have you heard about that? 玄, 好玄哦. Oh, okay. So 玄 means that you don't know it. Okay. You have no idea about it, so you call it 玄. Okay. Alright. So if next time I hear 玄, okay, and then I will say, you don't know. Okay. So actually, the distorted view on Buddhism and metaphysical investigation over human concerns makes the Buddhist teaching very 玄 to the common people. Okay? So the people don't understand anymore what you are talking about. Huh? Yeah, okay. Because the master are kind of like, interpreting Buddhist teachings in a way that is, not being connected with the people, with the common people. Okay. So that makes problem. Okay. And another one, large volumes of Buddhist texts. Okay. See, there are a lot of books to read. Where to start? Okay, so one time, Venerable Master, when he was still young, and he happened had a time to ask a senior monk, say that, oh, Venerable, our teachers, can you teach me how to read Buddhist canon, 读藏嘛, 读藏, how to read and how to begin. And that teacher said, 你就乱读. Okay, so it means that you just pick whatever you want and just flip over, okay, and read. Okay, so you read, just read. Okay, right. Of course that is by a very well-known and very knowledgeable Buddhist monks. Okay, but if you said, Venerable Master said, we can 乱读, so we can just pull one and take a look and fall asleep. Okay. So Buddhist text is so large, okay, so many. So where to begin? Okay. So now I would like to ease your nervousness, okay, when you're facing or when you are reading a Buddhist text. Okay. So actually, in the Buddhist canon, okay, each of the Buddhist texts, some of the Buddhist texts are just the different translation version of a particular Buddhist text. Okay, so it narrows down. Okay, so it is not that much, not that many, but it is just there are many different translation version of some particular sutras. Okay, for example, Lotus Sutras. Lotus Sutra has a lot of different versions. Okay, so as Diamond Sutras. Okay, so as Heart Sutra. Okay, the best or the most two well-known sutra or well-known two version of the same sutra, Heart Sutra, is from Xuan Zhang Dashi and Jiu Mo Luo Shi Dashi. They translated the same sutras, and people just get everything, okay, because they don't want to miss out everything. Okay, so people, those who edit, the editors of the Buddhist canon doesn't want to miss out anything, so they just include everything in the Buddhist canon. Okay, and if you love stories, okay, actually you can go to 本生经 or something that is like 咸鱼经. 咸鱼经 is not giam hee. Okay, not salty fish. Okay, 咸鱼经 means 咸 means virtuous. Okay, 贤者嘛. Okay, 咸鱼 is foolish. Okay, 咸鱼经. Okay, so there or 百喻经. Okay, there are a lot of stories. Okay, just like the blind man's touching, 盲人摸象 is also from those sutras. Okay, so actually you can pick on. We have Fo Guangshan has tried to publish relatively more 白话, okay, plain Chinese, okay, a great volume of the sutras that is in plain Chinese, okay, and it's called by. Oh no, I forgot that one. Okay, that is the red burgundy cover. Okay, right. So that is all in plain Chinese. Okay, so you may start from that from that. Okay, or you can just go to stories. There are a lot of stories. Okay, and because you are parents, so you need more stories, right? Okay. You can use bedtime stories. Okay. You can use Buddhist stories as bedtime stories, or you can use stories as when your kids having some mistakes, and you can use stories to teach why you cannot do that, like lying. Why you cannot lie? Because the Sami had lied and Buddha taught him something. Okay, so you can do that. Okay, so But large volume of Buddhist texts makes problems too, because when we see a lot of things and we never read it, right? Okay. There is a Chinese saying, okay, 再多不愁. When you have a lot of debt, you will not worried about it. Okay. 失多不痒. If there are a lot of, like ticks, then you won't feel itchy anymore. And the last one is 书多不读. There are a lot of, a lot of books, then you will never read. Okay. So go back to your home and see how many, the books on your bookshelf, and you can examine how many books that you have read already. Okay, so that means 书多不读. Okay. 再多不愁, 诗多不痒, 书多不读. Okay, so that's what happened right now too. Okay. Another one, chanting and repentance services and beliefs in deities and spirits. Okay, so that is what I have mentioned. This one, okay. So these internal factors also, okay, if affect the decline of Buddhism. Okay, and some of these internal factors that I did not put into this because it is very hard for me to put it in the timeline, okay, because it is not a major event. Okay, it is something that is gradually happened. Okay, so I cannot just put it there. Okay. But this makes decline of the Chinese Buddhism even worse or even faster. Okay. So, do you have any question so far? No? 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 Okay. So there are very no. Okay. So now no. So actually, what we can learn is that this is also the comment from Venerable Master. Okay. So he said that our own resolve is to offer the world a unified teaching focused solely on the Buddha's intent at bettering society, right, being what is essential to people, and in the belief we all can become Buddha. Humanistic Buddhism is certainly the way. Right? It is on page 201. Okay, and I think the reason why the Venerable Master has this comment is, I think this is more on the internal factors. Okay, so for example, okay, and unified teaching focused solely on the Buddha's intent at bettering society. Okay, so because we are, Chinese Buddhism are being declined, there are, isolations. Okay, there are some teachings, wrong views. Okay. So this more makes more important to us. Okay. So we have, for those who will believe in Buddhism, is that they have to know that Buddhism is useful for them. Right. Okay. For example, there was an argument saying that right now in Taiwan it happens in, there are the proportion of classical Chinese and plain Chinese, for the 课本, for the textbook. Okay, and so all the teachers in the educational area said that classical Chinese should be, should have more proportion in the textbook. Okay. But for high school people, students, classical Chinese is more, hard to digest, right? So they would like to have 白话文, okay? It's more, more relaxed because they understand it quickly, okay? But do you think that classical Chinese is not useful? It is useful in certain way, right? But it is not that of use. So sometimes they said, why do I have to learn calculus? After I graduate, I won't use calculus, right? Okay, or sometimes calculus is just not an elective for college, right? Maybe it's a must course, and so but you're not going to use it after you graduate. Why use it? I don't know. So, but if it is more useful, then it might, people might remember it, right? But if it is not useful, right, when it comes to you have to use it, then you have to go back to your textbook and flip over and take a look and to bring back your memory, right? Okay, so Buddhists should be more useful, right? Because at the original intent of Buddha, the teachings of him usually is for the people, okay, to resolve their problems or to solve their problems. Right? So Buddhism is not just philosophical, something that is philosophical, something that is Shan, right? But it should be more, more practical in our life. Okay. And so being what is essential to people, essential as water, as the air, okay, you will just enjoy it, you will need it. And so then humanistic Buddhism can be the way. Okay. So this is what we can learn from the book and from these chapters. Okay. So now I would like you to do this. I will give you 3 minutes. Is that enough? 3 minutes to complete this timeline. And if you have any questions on this event, you can raise your questions. You can ask. Okay. So now, thank you for giving us the musical enjoyment. Okay. So now you may use your pen to try to mark. Okay. Okay. So 1 is the least important. 5 is the most important. Okay. Positive is the positive influence, and negative is negative influence of this event to Chinese Buddhist history. Okay. Okay, so questions. So what is Sutra of 42 chapters about? 42章经. Okay. It is believed it is 42章经 or Sutra of 42 chapters is the first Buddhist sutras, okay, ever translated or compiled or edited in Chinese Buddhist history. Okay, and it make this sutra very special is because, of course, it is the first sutra, right? And also, actually, when we are, have you ever read about it? No? No. Yes, no. Okay. So it is very special because the form or the 文体 yeah. Okay. So the how it being written or how it being translated is very different from the later version or later translated sutras. Okay, that is because it was very, very early. It is about 7180. Okay, it's just a rough estimation. Okay. So yeah, I have to say it is a rough estimation, 7180. Okay, and so this is the first one. So actually, there is no Sanskrit sutra that can correlate it to this sutra, or Sanskrit version, or any other version of other languages to correlate it to this sutra. So what does that mean? So this means that this sutra is not translated directly from a version or a sutra. It is being compiled or edited. Okay, so why this? Why? Okay. So this is I can tell this just like a story. Okay, so when the first monk, official, in the official, record, the first two monks that had entered China is 竺法兰 and 迦摄摩腾 okay 竺法兰 and 迦摄摩腾 and it is believed that they translate this sutra of 42 chapters. Okay, and so how does this comes from is that there are, the emperor invited these two, to China, and of course the emperor will ask, what is Buddhism, right? Can you try to give me some of the Buddhist teachings in Chinese. And so 竺法兰 and 迦摄摩腾 started to translate. But at that time, there is no, maybe, I'm not sure, they just recite some of the Buddhist teaching out. And there will, and because 竺法兰 and 迦摄摩腾 doesn't know how to speak Chinese, so there are some Chinese translated it for them. Okay, so because of there is no people who knows how to translate. Okay, so 竺法兰 and 迦摄摩腾 has to recite it. Okay, so it means that he has to recite from their memories. Recite it, and people write it down and translate it. Okay, and it is very special because it is being written just like 论语. You know 论语, how does 论语 like, right? Okay. 子曰学而时习之, 不亦乐乎, right? Okay. Okay. So because it was being translated by Chinese, okay, so they use the Chinese form. So 佛曰 something something. Okay. So it becomes chapters. Okay, so it is just like 论语, right? It is chapters. It is not just like right now you can see, you can read 阿弥陀经. It is kind of like 散文, right? Like, it is a very, very, from start to the end, but it is just chapters, like, just like 论语. Right. So it is very special because the way they write it is different. Right. So some of the scholars say that because it is different format being written by the in different format, so it is 伪经, but it is not. Okay. So it is from recitation of a Indian monk, these two monks, and then being written and translated by Chinese. So the way of writing is different. And because it is the first one, so there is no previous version to take a look, right? They can just take a look at the previous version. So they just write it. Okay? They believe that Chinese will be more accepted by this form. Okay? So they write it like that. Okay? So and 42章经 actually it is about 五戒. It's a very fundamental Buddhism. So actually you can go to that. You can start to understand what is Buddhism from by reading this sutra. Right? So 五戒十善, 10 wholesome deeds. Okay, and also what is the attainment for a Buddhist? Right? For example, for Taoists, we know that 成仙, right, being a god, is their goal. Right? But for a Buddhist, what is the goal? Right? So the goal for Buddhists is to become enlightened, or to attain 四果. Okay, so it has this, it describes the goal of a Buddhist, being a Buddhist, and also how to practice Buddhism. Okay, and also it talks about anger. Okay, when you the anger is like this: when you speed toward the sky, and the pewt will just fall onto you, right? Okay, so anger is just like that. Okay, so when you get angry, okay, actually you will, what comes around goes around, right? Then you will suffer from the anger. Okay, right? When you get angry, then maybe you got your relationship got broken, because of your anger. So that is for the Sutra of 42 chapters. So you can start from this one because this is a fundamental teaching. Right? It talks about fundamental teachings. Right? But the format is very different. Right? So maybe you have to get a more plain Chinese one, 白话文, so you can know, you can understand that. Right? So 白话经典宝藏, that is the Fo Guangshan, who we try to publish a set of books that introduce all the sutras. Okay, so one of the sutras that we translated it or we make it plain in plain Chinese is this one, Sutra of 42 chapters. So you can look for that, right, in 白话经典宝藏. Okay. So do you have any questions? Really? No questions? 1, 2, 3. No questions. Okay. Thank you very much.